We go live like this. If we don't go live like this, it's not us. Hey, y'all, what's going on?
Oh, goodness. We are at the beginning of a new month. Can you believe? My cousin put on his Facebook page yesterday, he said, we survived the year of January. Like it was a whole lot happening.
Listen, the older we get, it's like the world keeps happening in many spaces simultaneously. We are H&D Abroad. I'm Hermit. This is my beautiful wife.
I'm Dee, and
Absolutely.
we are excited. Let's see, let me make sure my bun is up.
Here at H&D Abroad, she's adjusting. We help couples just like us, crazy special people, find a way to see moving abroad as a
Plan A.
Plan A.
Yep.
We do that by sharing our experience. We are trying to move abroad. We are trying to
Planning.
working,
actively working towards,
daily working towards a move abroad process that where we can find a place that we really feel connected to. And there are many places we're looking
connected
to. And for those of you all who are wondering, no, we haven't moved anywhere. So we are in that process, and we want to connect with people who are still looking for that process or who have just made that process. And that building of that community is what our page is about.
Yep.
And we connected with you, and we love having you guys here. So we'll start off with what I always say.
This is a conversation.
This is a conversation. Every time we have a conversation, that's not just us talking or just us and a guest, that's us and you. Stop right now what you're doing, shift your mouse, hit the like button. Share this video with anybody you know who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our page, especially if you're new. If you're coming to us later.
Yes, welcome to the replay gang. Y'all are strong. We appreciate you and want you to say hello, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day that you're joining us. Thank you, and we want to hear from you. So we spent greater than 1 month talking about money. The money goal series resonated with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. As we continue to do research to make sure that we are highlighting the parts of our move abroad process that people have questions about, we go and we do research. Mm-hmm. We're in different social media platforms seeing, what questions people are asking or answering. And what I'm really seeing is people asking the question, if you haven't moved abroad, what is holding you back? Mm-hmm. And so that's why we titled today's video, Are You Ready to Change Your Life? What I've come to over this last year is I don't want to pick up the life that I have in the US and put it down in another place. Mm-hmm. I do want to hold close to me the things that are the most valuable. Some things I can take with me, like you.
That's a good thing.
And some things I can't or should not, like my American bias. Mm. What I'm taking from social media that says a country is a certain way or that I need to operate in fear. So I want to say this is why we encourage you to be in a community. If you're interested in a country, connect with people that are on the ground, because the more you are exposing yourself to what it really is like on the ground, I think sometimes it can answer some folks' basic questions. Mm-hmm. But there are questions you might have about being in a place, and then there are questions you should be asking yourself. Am I ready? Am I ready to change? Not just am I ready to change locations? Am I ready to transform? I love Sabangale's channel. We don't retire, we ascend. This is a transformation. Are you ready to transform? That does not mean that you're going to go from one thing to another, like day to night. Even that is a graduated process. So from our self-awareness, we're looking outward.
One of the things that we've said before, I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No.
One of the things that I've said before is sometimes social media can be a source of misinformation in trying to inform you, because you get the pretty, you get the nice. Even with what we try to do with reality here, you're not here when we have the less pleasant conversations around what is life, around who we are as individuals, around who we are as a couple. You don't always get that. And we come on here, we're laughing, we're smiling and flirting with her, and that's great, but we struggle with this process, and that's not to tell our business. That's just because we live in a real world.
Yeah.
And all the things that we try to address on this channel are challenges that we address as a couple. And so when asking this question, are you ready? There are so many things in the description. I put, just slight things. Are you ready to leave your family? Are you ready to leave your job, or as they say, your good job?
Your good job.
Are you ready to sell your house or let somebody else live in your house while you pay for it, or they help you pay for it? Those things are realities that well up in us, and there are people who won't leave for things that people are saying, all you got to do is, it's not quite that simple. And so we're wanting to kind of highlight some of those things today
and have a conversation, because like I was in the group saying, okay, so you don't want to leave. And I know we've got several grandparents that are on our page. People are saying, I don't want to leave my children and I don't want to leave my grandchildren. And I am currently in the struggle. So to disclose a little bit, we've had 2 of our 3 kids to move out. We're in a different city, and y'all, it snowed. Our son has never driven in snow and ice. Don't get on the road. Don't get on the road. Don't get on the road. What did he do?
He got on the road and had an accident in my car.
Oh, Lord. I was just like, so what do we wind up having to do? Take a deep breath and walk him through it. Go drive home slowly. We'll figure it out when we get home. The mental part of this is probably even more difficult than the things that I've been clinging to. I've got to have a job or money coming in. Where are we going to live? Sorting through, there are all these countries in the world, all these types of visas that we could have access to. But the thing I think that I realized as I'm looking at both those folks that have been successful and have actually left, and those of us who are planning thoughtfully to make the jump, is you don't get over your fear and then leave. You don't solve all your problems because you've got things in place. You kind of just come to a settled point of, I will do what I can do where I am. If I need to go home, I've got money to get there, but I can't hover. And I think we started trying to be a detective of is how were people who present as females or mothers or grandmothers, were stating what their struggles were versus what men or people who were presenting as men on the page, were those struggles different? And y'all, it was.
So let's start with the fear factor 1st. I see it. So let's take a minute and acknowledge that we got folk here with us.
Yeah.
I say hi to Tanya Brooks. Always good to see you. Hey, Sabangale. Hey, Kimmy Apple. Hey, Greta. It's always good to have you here. Anita's World. Aileen Brown. Professor LCH. You're here early. Good to see you. Bayesian Alpha 4. One of the biggest, probably the biggest deterrence to doing anything, especially something new, is fear. It is the biggest challenge there is to life, fear. And fear can be seen as anxiety. It can be seen as apprehension. It can be seen as lack of confidence. It can be seen of, lack of information. There's fear in the unknown. And sometimes no measure of excitement from yourself or from people who you admire doing it can move you past the what ifs. As people of color, we run into the what ifs like the when ifs. It's not what if it's going to happen, it's when is it going to happen. And so we become so cynical, so jaded, so self-protected about the fact that this issue is going to go backwards on us, and I'm not going to be able to recover. Not just it's going to happen. We deal with failure. That's a part of what it is, but it's going to hit us in a way that I'm not going to be able to recover. I'm not going to be able to get back up. And then I've made a fool of myself. That's a big deal.
Ooh, because
I've embarrassed myself.
And it's not just that I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel embarrassed. There are people in your circle who are watching your moves and are waiting to come back and say, and how did that work out for you?
I told you so. And as much as we like to feel that we are independent thinking people, we are social beings. And the fear of embarrassment, the fear of failure is looming. Okay, I get that one. I feel that. We've shared in earlier conversations about the challenges that we've had in the past that have crept up on us when financially. Some of us because we weren't prepared, and sometimes because there was nothing we could do about it. And at 50, the last thing I want is to look up and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't afford this anymore. I'm stuck. I done walked us into a bad place because I was optimistic. The balance, the nigga knows, he knows that I say I'm both a realist and an optimist. I believe we can do this, but what are the things we're going to face along the way? But in that, sometimes the fear of possible realities outweighs my optimism, and I get stuck. Anxiety, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Anxiety for me looks like stalling, because I don't have an answer, and without an answer, then what? This is not meant to sound like a slight to people who are solo. If I were making decisions for me, then I'd say, if I screw it up, it's just me. I got nobody to be responsible for. My money, I'll make my money back. Since we've been on this house sit, all three of our children have had some crisis that we have not been able to do any more than provide counsel for, provide direction for. And it's the first time we've been away from them. It's hard enough that they're just within the first year of the two oldest are within the first year of moving out of my house. It's a whole nother thing that they're now dealing with some crises that are more than just, okay, we'll work through that. They're dealing with some real challenges. And I can't come over and just hug their necks. But they also are surviving. They called me, my two oldest called me on the phone. My oldest called last night and said, some stuff is going down with my roommates. I'm coming by the house. I'm gonna wash my clothes. I'm gonna spend the night there until they get that straight.
Y'all, she came home.
That's a big deal. You need to understand that's a big deal.
She decided she was going to come home.
Number two showed up early this week.
And then she said, and this is how I'm gonna handle it. Maybe with the family thing for me, initially I was saying, okay, maybe we should have them come with us. And then I was like, they grown, and they are figuring it out. Release. There's just some stuff you've got to release.
And it comes from the perspective of when we were that age. When I was their age, I was dying to get out of my house. I was doing everything possible to not live at home. Baby girl lived at home.
I love my daddy.
And I respect that, but he made that environment safe for them. I want that environment I want to pass that on to my children, but in a way that they also know you're going to have to do this on your own, because I don't want you to figure it out. If I drop down dead today, then you can never say, well, my dad didn't show me that, or my dad always took care of that. In my earlier parts of my career, I was listening to some counseling show or whatever it was. And a woman called in and she was having some marital problems because she said, well, I'm a daddy's girl. She's in a new marriage and everything she wants done. She don't ask her husband. She called her daddy, which means he's always at her house. He's always doing stuff that her husband didn't agree he wanted done. Yeah. You see that face? It wasn't us, but that's
look. My dad. I mean, these are things you work through as a newlywed.
And she seemed, kind of just, put off that the show host advisor was saying that's not his place. We as Black people, we have a weird dichotomy. We both spend so much time running away from our families and not leaving them soon enough in a way that is individualistic in our styles and living, because we don't really know what we're doing when we're with them except being upset. And so, you got the grandmothers who were in the thread we were reading recently, who were like, how could you leave your grandkids? You're selfish if you're leaving your grandkids. Mm-hmm. And I said, but what if your grandkids and your children got up and moved across the country? Are you going to shut down your whole life and follow your grandkids across the country? There are some people who would do that. Most people haven't considered that we even do that. We put conditions on things that we have not discussed as a family about what ifs. I don't know. I feel like I'm.
Well, I think, I put up Greta's comment because there is I think we feel a sense of responsibility, but that's not how we're actually living our daily lives. For most of us, if I had a grandchild, I know I would want to know that grandchild. But the reality is, unless they lived in our house, the kind of proximity that I'm anticipating that I would want, mm-hmm. I'm probably not going to even function that way when I have a grandchild. And that works for when it works. Our adult children, and that's what I've come to realize, is they are going to live their lives. Am I afraid of living my life if I decentralize myself from theirs? Some of the comments really had me suspicious that I like to be needed. That is my place in the family. And so I put myself in the middle of solving the problems of my parents, mm-hmm. of solving the problems for my children, instead of supporting them to make decisions. Because my mama has told me, I'm not going with you to Mexico.
Yeah.
And so am I going to say, well, my mama don't want to go, so I'm not going to go?
My father right now is out the country. I didn't even know he was going. He just sending pictures. See, okay. We sometimes insert ourselves into our family or each other's lives, or allow people to insert themselves in our lives in a way that might be inappropriate, that might not be because we sat down and had a conversation about it. One of the things that I want to always roll back to is, in this consideration of the move abroad process with the people in your life, there has to be a conversation. Now, understand that that conversation may need to be adjusted depending on what your family is like. We had a young couple, I can't remember which, we had one of them young couples on here, and the young brother said, I told my family a couple of weeks before we were walking out the door.
Thailand.
He said, because they would have done everything they could to try to talk me out of going.
Mm-hmm.
If you know those things, then you have to set up whatever parameters for that conversation. That doesn't mean the conversation doesn't happen. There are a lot of young people packing their bags, moving out of the country with their young children, packing up their bags, having their children outside the country. There's no slight. There's no
judgment.
There's no judgment if that's your need. But what is the conversation? A gentleman said, what do you say? Sometimes it's not about you.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much he was saying, you know, you're abandoning the people who need you. I want to address that is a challenge for me. That is a struggle for me. I'm mentioning our children because I'm recognizing and remembering the vulnerability of the early 20s and the late teens. I'm recognizing it. I'm recognizing that their age is identified as adult, even though sometimes, a lot of times, their brains are not identifying as adult, because the full status of adult life is not real to them yet. It's not played itself out. Their money is still theirs. Their options and choices are still theirs. They don't owe anybody anything. Nobody's showing up at tax time to take a big chunk out of their, they don't have those things. And when their cars break down, they come drive my car. When their food runs out, they come eat my food. When, as with our daughter, their lights get turned off due to a bad situation of living.
Responsibility.
Okay, you come and you stay at daddy's house. I'm proud to have a daddy's girl. Don't misunderstand me. I want the next dude to show up, to have a little bit of a challenge dealing with, the expectations of who daddy was in her life. But I also want her to be able to say, if I'm doing this alone, what does it need to look like? And if I always save her,
she does not have confidence in herself. And that, y'all, the confidence part is why we probably could have moved sooner. I mean, there's some things we could have shifted and changed and then gotten out of the door. The being able to see, giving our children the opportunity to make these bumps in the road, so that maybe some of it is, I want to be confident that they've had enough opportunities to bump their head against the wall, come back and reset. And I'm here and I'm not in a panic. Because when my son called and I saw the look on Herman's face, I was just like, what happened?
And I knew,
and I was just,
when he called me at 11 o'clock at night, because the two terms were, don't drive at night and don't drive in bad weather. And he was in the middle of both. And when he called me and the what do you call it? The doorbell ringer hadn't gone off to let me know he was home.
And so that confidence, the confidence what I want is to give myself some levels of peace, that they can do that they're doing the basic thing. They've done it when they were at home. Now they're doing it when they're away from home. Some of the, like I said, some of this struggle, a lot of this struggle is within myself. Anita has a great comment that I have been like on the wrestling match floor. I have a good job. I'm here on a house sit doing my job. Like, whose job? It's a good paying job. I'm able to cover my bills plus. But I'm tired of making a change because it's required. Like, if I had a health issue and now I'm required to lose weight, I have a financial, like my back is against the wall. They're about to come take my house. And now I'm going to start budgeting. Like, I think I can be in a place to make a change where it is my choice. These are the things that I want to center in my life. And I mean, we got grease on the wheels, and we're saying, could do, I think I want to do something else. I don't want to be told what I need to do. You know, I want to be more self-directed. I want to, and if you have been watching the news at all and have seen all these major companies with layoffs, I've been in the groups. Y'all heard me on Thursday talking to the lady that that is Mika Thompson about, writing the resume. People out here, they've been looking for a job for 12 months, 18 months. And I'm talking about leaving my job. That creates a level of anxiety that says, do I have the power to want something and then let go of something that can reasonably fit in the life, and I can have a reasonable life.
And a flip side of the coin to that, I'm not just an entrepreneur because I want to work for myself, but because the work environment has not always been very amenable to my skills. I have a proud, proven background in behavioral sciences. I have a proud, proven background in human resources. I consider myself a pretty creative and crafted chef, self-trained as I am. And that does not always translate to employment. And then I'm going to go and hope to find remote work. People say, oh, you can start your own business. And do you understand
what that startup looks like?
What that looks like? I'm trying to get enough money to get the plane ticket out of here. And you're talking about having enough money to start a business and hope that it works. One of the biggest failing industries in the world is food service. And that is a challenge to just say, hey, I'm going to just when again, there is the trauma of I've been employed and unemployed. I can count on one hand how many jobs I've transferred from one job to the next job, where it wasn't this job just ended. And then I was trying to find something to do. And I have gotten skilled in the art of finding things to I'm too old for that. I'm too old to continue that as a process. And I don't have a pension. I wasn't in the military. I don't have there's no Social Security for a little bit. And I don't expect it to be much if it's anything. So, there's got to be a bigger plan. And these are the realities of dealing with. We're talking about trying to be gone come the end of this year.
Yeah.
And it does not deter the determination, but it creates a level of worry and anxiety that can greatly mar the process. It puts a very big mark of frustration on the process. You're getting some great.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm looking, y'all. I do not want. Let's see, Kimmy is talking about something in the chat. baby, our children are living their lives. And because what we talked about was maybe our daughter needs to come home, reset, but we're not going to be like
she can't move back in.
We're not going to be the first W and not have no exit plan. No. So you may enter, but entry with an exit plan, there is an expectation that you will be able, that I am confident that you have the skills. It may seem daunting, but if you've listened to Taraji P. Henson's story, she said, yes, I was in college. I had my baby. Now that gave me the motivation. That gave me the push. It is hard out in these streets. Stuff is expensive. Mm-hmm. And whether that there in our Exodus Summit accountability group, moms are saying, I don't want nobody turn around and saying you left your daughter and she had, she was in need, and people gonna talk. Yeah. People are gonna say our kids are going to stumble.
But it is important that they understand through direct communication with them that we are a constant support system to them, even when technically we can't afford it. My father just turned 77 years old. And when I called him on his birthday, he said, just know that whenever you need something, whatever it is, I'm on a plane, I can be there. Whenever you need it, I can get it to you. I can take care of it. He passed that to me. And I walked out of my house as an 18-year-old college freshman, soon turned 19. And I, for all practical purposes, I didn't look back. And I had zero skills, zero skills. Right. And he had to learn how to, for lack of a better way to put it, stand down, step back, especially after we got married. He was like, look, this is what you need to do. And I was like, wait. When I finish talking to her, we'll let you know if we need something. That's a big deal. And so I'm trying to be in a space with my kids and my family now that says, what do you need and how can I fit into that space? That's one. Work, that's two.
I'm just going to say, I see several comments in the chat, y'all. This is a reality. It's a reality. Tanya Brooks, I see you, sis. I see you. This is when you're talking about the resistance, are you ready to change and you are a couple?
That's a
the ready, what do you call it? The ready for action, the stages of change theory. Mm-hmm. There are two timelines happening right here. And the discussion has to continue, but you can't.
You will never hear Herman say, and I'm declaring it here today so that you will never hear Herman say, whether it's the wife who desires or the husband who desires, then you just need to lead them and do you. You will never hear me say that.
Not on this channel.
Not me. Okay. You also will not hear me say, you just gonna have to struggle along and figure it out. Okay. There has to be a conversation. There has to be a measure where you find a way to satisfy your need to continue forward. Now, I'm saying it like that because you have to decide that within the confines of what is right for your marriage, for your partnership, and for yourself. That's not for Herm to even try to guide you down any time. That is inappropriate. But let me say something. Don't sit in a hole because your partner, I told her she ain't got to wait on me to travel. Because if we get to point A or B and I don't like it, I'm going to say, I don't like this space. And if she says I absolutely have to stay here, then I have to make a decision about what we do next, about what I do next in terms of that. Abandoning her won't be it, but we'll have to find some way to negotiate what the space looks like because it's got to be a conversation. If we go to where she wants to go and I end up liking it and she doesn't, that is the whole conversation. That's a joke all the time. What if we get to one of these places and I go, yeah, and she goes, it doesn't turn out the way I like. Then what do we do? How do we negotiate that? How do we navigate that? And those are things that, yeah, I ain't said it in a while. You got to get out of your head. That's a conversation out loud. And you fall into the what, when, where's, how. Is it that I want to move, or is it that I want to move there? Because see, sometimes the conversation is I want to and they don't want to because it's there, or I want to there and they want to over there. I love what Dr. Linda said. Dr. Linda says, I want to be here and we want to be there. So we met somewhere and we found some place in the middle that was a lot more entertaining. Hey, because that compromise is a way of growing. Angela was ready to go for a decade plus. Lamar was ready to go at the last minute. But when they decided that they both wanted to go, they found a place that was in a general area they could agree on. And then they found a specific area that met some of his hobby needs and some of his continued personal individual growth spaces, so that she was, I'm away and where I want to be. And he was like, and while I'm here, I can continue too. That's a conversation. That's a conversation.
I love what Tasha's saying. You know, everybody does not invite change into their life. And so those folks are going to be resistant. Mm-hmm. As a doula, I'm always talking about surround yourself with positive energy. So if there are some folk that don't need to know until the going away party, there's some folk that you do need a group of folk that are cheering you on. Mm-hmm. So find your tribe. Mm-hmm. Find people that will surround you, encourage you, where you can just go, okay, so I'm thinking through a bunch of things and I want to say them out loud, not necessarily so that you can tell me what to do, but like we're all in this space together and I'm trying to work this out, and it's a safe space. People need that. Mm-hmm. People need you saying the shorthand of taking a sabbatical it's because we are in a community where taking a sabbatical is a norm. So I understand what she is describing, why she might be looking at that she's not in academia, and how refreshing and how much clearer you can be about how you want to live your life, and how valuable someone stepping forward and saying, I need a sabbatical is. You need to be in a community of people who say, I get it. I get it. I want it. And that, like Professor LCH is saying, when you fall down.
This hits for me because I think the bigger scope for me in raising our children, as well as in the interaction we're having with our aging parents, is if I don't prepare them for whatever challenges they have in front of them, and then they, you know, used to always say, if you don't spank your kid, somebody else will. If you don't hurt them. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and beat your kid up, but if you don't help them manage failure,
and because what research is saying is this generation coming up don't have fewer resiliency skills. Mm-hmm. And this is what this part of the conversation is about, is how do you help your kid? The confidence is in their ability not to fall down. It's what do they do? I should not be their first point. I should be in their circle of response, their circle of resiliency. Mm-hmm. I should be a part of that. They should be looking to more than one person, they should have more than one solution for how do I get back on track. That, like most of us, sometimes it takes 6 months, a year, but the more the shorter that resiliency timeline, the easier it's going to be to reset. Change is very good for people our age, mm-hmm. for our brain health. change is almost vital because it is firing up new nerve cells, new brain cells, new neurons. You have to create that. If you're continuing to go down the same path, you're mm, mm. When you continue to go down the same path, you feel safe and you don't give yourself the ability to grow.
Let's give it to you in a different. There's two things. One, you want to feel safe. There's a safety and recognition of where your consistent resources are, but you also want to build resources because you want to be able to say, I have different avenues. Alzheimer's, my grandfather, my mother's father, and my mother both had Alzheimer's. And one of the things that they've expressed for battling Alzheimer's is creating new neural pathways, adding new options and new changes and new opportunities and learning new things. A part of this move abroad process for D&I is to be able to continuously change the landscape. I got to learn a new space. I got to learn a new home. I got to learn new cultures. I got to learn potentially new languages, because if it's going to be a part of my potential future, I want to fight it as long as I can. We have to open as many doors to growth as possible. And sometimes there's risk in that, but are you ready to let it go? I want to say hi to Why Not Now. It's good to see you guys.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you guys. Let's see.
Money and jobs were something that came up more frequently than even fear in looking at this question of moving abroad. And I'm specifically looking in Black Move Abroad groups. And so I'm listening to our people say jobs or finding remote work as that will be the one thing that gets them out the door. And what I have learned from y'all, because I grew up, there's an entrepreneur over here and an entrepreneur over there. What I have found is if you want to do a thing, surround yourself with people who are doing that. And so I have skills that I use for my employer. Why do I feel like no one will pay me to do that thing? And I'm saying, when I say community, this is what I'm talking about is if I'm ready to change, and I know if I have identified, my list of top 5 reasons why, things that I need to address before I can get out the door. It should be over the course of your process of moving abroad, you should be pushing yourself to say, my list had 20 things on it, and I have been able to either let some of those priorities go, scratch them off my list, or I have a plan for how to deal with them. And now I have a core set of issues. If remote work is your thing, you might want to surround yourself with some folk who are. I'm hearing people who have pensions and Social Security still say, I'm still looking for ways to make money. I'm still trying to learn skills because I need the safety of work. Or I have decided I have enough. When you have gone through, you've gone to Numio, you've gone to these websites that tell you what the cost of living in a country is. And most people, even Adelia, her budget is less than $30,000 a year. Most people that I'm hearing, 24 to 30,000 if you're going to live a reasonably modest life. I'm not saying you not living good, because Adelia is showing us she's living good, but that you can live good mindfully. Like, we can make this happen. It is with creating an understanding of the reality of the thing. The change, there at some point something is going to be different. Your readiness may need to be, I'm going to find another sister. We're going to go, you interested in going to Columbia? I'm interested in going to Columbia. Let's set a timeline. And somebody talked about timeline on here. Everybody has their own timeline. Mm-hmm. You might need to get a Move Abroad accountability somebody. In this group of people in the comments right now, people are saying, I've done this. You might need to say, hey sis, I want to get with you. So, a brother, I want to get with you, or family, I want to get with you because you have done the thing and I want to pattern myself, to be able to do that. Or, hey, I want to hold myself accountable, or we're going to make the jump together. Y'all, people are doing this in a variety of ways. When we're saying get in community, that is because you don't have to do it alone. For a lot of my apprehension about making a change is, I'm going out here and I'm doing this by myself. I'm going to a place I've never been before, or I've only visited, and now I have to make a life. I'm going to talk about it this month about, we're going to have to learn how to make some friends. We're going to have to learn how to get out of our comfort zone saying, I got to protect. Yes. But you're going to need to you're going to have to create folk on the ground where you're going, because change means I still need to somebody need to put their arms around me.
So I'm gonna interject here also, and it's one of the things I'm gonna bring up in one of my Man Mondays. So the increasingly decrease of friends that men have. Some of you may be having a challenge with your male partners wanting to go because their community is so small. And when you have a limited community and you're going somewhere you don't know and you don't have a history of making friends, we love our spouses. We love you, but it's hard for us to realize, if we haven't realized already, that we need somebody else. This community that we are continuing to engage in with you all has been enriching for me as a Black man. And I am still outnumbered in this conversation. I see Living Loving Abroad. Hey, Steve. And these little hits don't. It's not enough. Mm-hmm. It's not enough. And when you are asking someone, we're talking about having conversations here. When you ask someone to say, okay, and on top of you being unknowns to me, being lonely, because we're gonna be talking about loneliness. I don't know as your partner that at the core you have a level of loneliness, and I'm asking you to go and be more isolated. Okay, because let's be honest, as Black folk, we often are a little more homebody than we need to be. Just because y'all go to the Friday night club and step together as a couple doesn't mean you're really hanging out with all the other people in the club. If only people you're engaging with is each other and your two friends from high school, or the other couple that don't talk to nobody either. There's no real expansion of life. And if I got this many friends in the small space that I live in, and I now have to pack up and move to a space where I got no friends, and I don't even know how to make friends. And the people there, I don't know if they even going to act like they want to see me, want to like me. We're talking about apprehensions here. We're talking about having conversations here. Some things to consider. And sometimes it's why sometimes a spouse will say, yeah, I'll go if we go there, because I know I can relate there. I can acclimate there. I can interject myself there in a way that makes me feel, what's the word you used earlier? Needed. Makes me feel accepted. We take for granted how companion oriented men are. Okay. The culture of the world has made it sound like it's women and women need men. But Adam got here first, and God said, it's not good for this brother to be alone. We were designed to be social creatures as men. And we have no clue how to do that thing. Zero. Conversations.
Our desire in this is to touch this part of change. Are you ready to change? Have you considered how you're not necessarily just the things that you will need to change to live your life somewhere, but that just the whole process of change brings up emotions within yourself and also within your circle, and that where you can address those before you leave, that's awesome. That's awesome. What I took hope in was seeing people say, I'm still working through those things and I've moved. And so even the questions, because I wrote down a bunch of them about, what if I don't like the place? Maybe there are hundreds of countries in the world. If you have your list of priorities and you get in a place, because Tasha, that's in the chat now, we were just watching her talk about Kenya, and we were like, yeah, Kenya. And then the person that she had on said, and Nairobi gets cold. I was like, say what? That cold is not on my list. You know, if it doesn't fit, you know, you need to know those things. You need to be ready for, okay, is it cold for as long as it is? I think her guess was from Yonkers, New York. Is it as cold for the amount of time? Like, if you don't want that, what do you want? Or that's why I have residency in another country, maybe during the cold months or the rainy months, or during the smoking season, like in Southeast Asia, or the heat, sweltering heat of the summer in Spain, southern Spain, that I change my location temporarily. It doesn't mean the whole readiness to change means I'm not looking for one person or one place to be a solution. There is no utopia. There is no Wakanda. We can't chase it. It is about prioritizing what brings me peace for me, and what in my checklist of things. I want to feel safe, and I want it to be somewhere that both of us have found our place to grow and enjoy.
Flexibility and adaptability. If at the end of 2024 we're not ready to go, we're going to be disappointed. But what will we have accomplished in 2024 so that we can also feel that we're still on the forward path? That's a conversation. Okay. The goal is 2024. When we talked to Krishan several months ago, Krishan said, I started this conversation. She was 3 years in before she made her move. 3. Okay. We've only been having this conversation
1 year.
1 year. Okay, so we're trying to address the realities of what can we do in a way that is responsible to what our needs are, to what our expectations are, to what our goals are. What?
What am I going to do? That is a real question. What am I going to do? I know you've had this conversation with Stephen of Living, Loving Abroad.
And he and I, and if he's still available, he and I and David of The Wonderful Life with David and Nikki will have a retirement conversation come Monday. Because what does retirement look like? How do we redefine what retirement looks like?
And I decentralize work. What else do I have that gives me purpose, where I feel like there's an expectation of being needed to do something? Yeah, I mean, I am asking myself to transform. That transformation is probably going to be things that I anticipate, and then some things that I haven't even. I want, just like we're asking our young people to have a resiliency mindset, it's the same for us.
When we realized that we may not be looking for one place, it changed the whole level of anxiety and stress, because it was like, okay, the world, I want to go there. I want to go there. And it's not, there are those people who move around all over the place, and I'm not trying to do that. But we might do some of everything. I'm being a little exaggerative in the statement, but you need to understand, if I don't have to then find a house in a place, in land, in such and such a place, now I've got a whole broader approach to how I'm going to see the world. And I might be there a year, 2 years, 5 years, but then the next goal is, what's next? Mm-hmm. Who's happening next? What's the next part? And we do that in clear view of who are we, how old are we, what is our relationship like, and the things that are important to us: our children, our parents, our home, working. I ain't ready to put down work for a minute, because we got some stuff we need to do.
Yep.
But what does work get to look like for me? What do I decide, and how do I decide that? I'm still here. So do I go back to work full time and take care of the money debts and things and work those out, and then we leave? Do I pay off some important stuff and take some side jobs out of the country somewhere, and we go and we do that, and we shift some money back towards those things because our expenses are something else? Do we encourage the kids to go? Do we make sure they don't go? Those are all real questions, and they apply individually to everybody's situation. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not even telling you to move out of the country, because there are people who are got their panties in the wad. You trying to make us leave? We built this country. That's not my groove. That's not my groove. I want you to excel where you plant, mm-hmm. bloom where you plant, mm-hmm. but make sure you're doing that and you're not burrowing down into some sand that wasn't meant for you to sprout in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
This might not be your town anymore. You might need to get your hips out of South whatever or East Side whatever. You might need to shift your view, your gauge, your space. Okay. That I'm challenging you. I'm challenging us, mm-hmm. to expand, to grow, to see it different. You might double back around the way you were originally and go, this really is the best thing for me. But if all you eat is one type of food and you haven't tried something else, then you can't say you don't like that. You can't say this is better than that. This barbecue is the best barbecue in the world. Okay, but have you had barbecue from over there and over there and over there? You might double back and still say, had some all of that. This is the best.
Yep.
But you got to, yes, Marilyn, have a mindset change.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You got to have a mindset change. You have to say, on this day, I'm more than the sum of my parts.
So let's get it, y'all.
So
let's get it.
Let's get it. Ask you, if you are ready, do the research. Do the research. One more. Do the research. Explore.
Because there were things that I had no idea about. I
have no idea about.
I was like, I'm thinking retirement age. A lot of the countries we had been looking at, the retirement visas were 60 and up, and then bam, Southeast Asia with that age 50, baby, blow your mind. When you are asking the questions, when you are reading up about countries and how long you have to stay there and how much money you need to be there, explore. This is a gift you can give yourself. When we're talking, we are in Black history. I wanted to say, Greta, I saw the article you put up about your dad and being a trailblazer as a police officer. Y'all, are you ready to change your life? Civil rights demanded a change at multiple levels within this country. And there were people that were not ready at any stage or at various stages. I'm all right if they have rights, but they don't need to be rights in my neighborhood or in my child's school or where I use the bathroom or my lunch counter.
There were Black people who weren't ready.
There are Black people that weren't ready, for that change or thought that this wasn't the right time. They told Barack Obama, America is not ready for a Black president. The change, the readiness for change, and sitting in this moment in Black history, you are the newest version of trailblazing. If you are Black, if you're in this space as a person of color, we are trailblazing a new story, a new part of our family history. And I am proud to be a part of considering, even if it doesn't happen for me, I'm hoping that I've planted the seeds for my children, that I'm planting the seeds for friends or neighbors or kids that I have mentored along the way that see me and say, I never thought about that. I never considered that I could live a fuller, more expanded life by moving somewhere else temporarily. I'm talking about even something as simple as doing one of those, a semester abroad. This is the kind of difference that I'm hoping within the people that I have influence with to say, I am willing to change. I am pursuing change in my life. I hope that this catches on in some way because we have a lot to give. As Black culture, we have given our music, our fashion, our language,
our intelligence, our creativity, our inventions.
So this is something I think we have to share with the people we have influence with. So
this community, we continue to say, is a blessing to DNI. Yes. We are honored to have you as a part of our community. When we posted our first live, sitting in our little closet, and nobody was there but us. we had our doubts.
Mhm.
We had our doubts. And the slow, consistent growth of this community, we can only hope that we share in some part with you as richly as you share with us as we continue to grow as individuals and as a couple and as a part of this community. In our description are parts of where we're growing, our Patreon community, our one-on-one contact consultations, ways for you to continue to make contact with us as we continue to learn and grow. I'll be posting a poll later on. Watch for it, because we are looking for ways to learn and grow and to share these gifts that the divine has shared with us that we'd like to share back with the world.
Yep.
This was our chance just to share with you today.
Happy Black History Month, y'all.
We're so glad to see you all. We hope you have a great rest of your day, wherever you are. And I'm Herman. She's Dee.
Like, share, subscribe. Y'all know Marilyn in the comments saying that right now. Thank you guys so much for sharing time with us today. Let's grow. Bye for now.
See y'all later.